You can include dynamic informations like lectures, and you can use typography and other sort of graphic design methods to bring the sort of hot destinations or destinations that are time pertinent at this moment to the forefront for each person. You can imagine that the building can also know who it is that is approaching the signing station, and then give directions accordingly. So each time you approach the corner where you want to turn, the building will give you signage personalized to you. You can also imagine that the people within the building can also report incorrect signage or have manual adjustments to this recommendation system. So some basic examples of things that you can do there. And then you can also imagine that because this is the dynamic signage, you can show special events that are going on. So the next slide. Okay. So like if you have a corporate Christmas party and you want to notify people that you should go downstairs for a brief moment, you can show this type of signage for within the building. So those are some of the possibilities that you can imagine for dynamic signage, and when you have a building that is aware of its inhabitants and where they're going. For the next project I wanted to talk about is sort of looking at, instead of building necessarily having all of your knowledge, but what if you think about it from the other direction as each person having their own control over their own location data. So last year there was big news about when Apple it was leaked that Apple's iPhones had been collecting people's personal location data. It turns out it's collecting mostly Wi-Fi location points, but you can still very generally map out where a person has been at a certain time. And so at the New York Times Lab, our response to it was to build this platform called OpenPaths. And so what this does is you can take your iPhone data and parse it for you. If you're not a programmer, it's hard to get to, even though it is unencrypted on your phone. But from there, it gives you the data. You can download it in whatever format you want. It's encrypted. And you can have graphs kind of like this. So in this case, this is a coworker's data who lives in Brooklyn, which is the bottom right and the pink there. And then the top left is the New York Times building, which is near the Port Authority. And you can see he has a lot of buddies in Williamsburg, which is in the blue there. And so with this data, some of the things to think about that a user might want to know and how they might want to interact with this data is that they might want to be able to see it themselves. And so we have actually an electronic mirror in the lab that we've developed. And part of the idea here is that your data is like a digital reflection of yourself that you can see sort of overlaid over a physical reflection of yourself in the bathroom mirror. So you can imagine when you're planning your day in the morning, you can take a look at sort of your physical activity data, how much you can move it, biking or running or something like that. So you can plan whether you want to go to the gym or how much time you've been spending in different spaces. And lastly, I wanted to close with a project sort of looking at what if in the future there are ubiquitous sensors everywhere. As we know, sensors are getting smaller and smaller. And so we tried to do sort of a thinking exercise on what if our entire environment could sense everything that we're doing. What sort of meaningful interactions might there be for ourselves if we could collect that information about ourselves. And so this is a sort of conceptual video that we did, and it's looking sort of at personal data environmentally collected, but within like a kitchen scenario. So imagine if you have sensors everywhere, at that point probably you can push a button and have dinner made for you, but you would still want to be able to make dinner yourself. Oh, is the movie not? Did it finish? Sorry. You would still want to make dinner yourself, and so you might want to learn how to make sort of a particular dish that was made by a famous chef. Media not found, it says on the bottom. I checked this in the other book. But I guess I'll talk through what it would look like. So if you could want to, you wanted to learn how to make a particular dish that your favorite chef could make, and suppose your environment can track sort of how you're moving your hands when you're turning from the counter to the stove and different types of sort of physical activities within an interior space, that you could be able to record that and have it compared to maybe the last time you made this dish, say perhaps this time I was more efficient or this time I cut it more correctly or incorrectly, and you could also compare with perhaps the chef chefs recording sort of the chef making it themselves. And so this way, people can use their own data to improve their own skills and things that they wanted to learn. Mainly looking at sort of embodied and full body interactions here. So that mostly concludes my talk. Sorry about this.